Hello Internet, and welcome to my review for Fairy Tail episode 287, Emperor Spriggan. Sorry this video is so late, 288 literally comes out tomorrow. I've just been busy, and then I've been catching up on the other things I'm reviewing, but now I'm finally here with Fairy Tail. And yeah, when we last left off, Natsu and the gang had come to Caracol Island, in their quest to reach, Alakatasia and the Alvarez Empire so they can get Makarov back. But while there, they encountered a bunch of Alvarez soldiers led by Marin Hollow, a servant of Brandish Mew, who then showed up at the end in order to just be super fucking intimidating. And yeah. So before we get into the review proper, just a reminder, I have my straw poll in the description down below for next season's anime reviews. It's already that time of the year, I know. So please fill that out and then come back and watch the video, you know. So anyway, moving on to the episode proper. The first thing we get is my all-time favorite Where Are They Now reveal. When the B team is in the Blue Pegasus owned hot springs, along with Ichigo, just kind of shows up there. Ichigo reveals that the Raijinshu, the Thunder Legion, the Thunder God tribe, or whatever the fuck you want to call them, joined Blue Pegasus. And it's that thing that you never stop laughing at, you know? Like, Loxus was a card-carrying Blue Pegasus member. Even if he wasn't really in the guild hall that much, he was, and I love it. It's really funny. And the bat sequence, despite Mashima's less stellar reputation, the bat sequence is mostly really funny. The gag of Juvia being like really shy until Levi mentions Gray is there, and then all of her sense of shame is gone, and she jumps out and accidentally drops her bath towel is really funny. I will say that it is marred by the cliche Gajiel lands on Levi after he's sent flying by Elfman, I think, and makes some inappropriate comments about her breasts, and you know, it's a cliche, and Lily even calls out that it's a cliche, but calling out something as a cliche is not the same as, like, criticizing it. So if it was trying to be critical of that cliche, it didn't really work. And if it wasn't trying to be critical of that cliche, it should have been critical of that cliche, because it's a stupid cliche. But that's really all we get with the blue team the B team this week. Because now, Brandish. I love Brandish's powers. They're kind of reminiscent of Ant-Man, is the first obvious conclusion to go to. If Ant-Man uses powers on other people instead of himself. And in Ant-Man, you know, I'm most of my interaction with Marvel is through, like, the MCU, and he's kind of like the butt of the joke. He's this, like, side character who occasionally gets his own movie, you know. But, like, those powers of, like, shrinking and enlarging things are incredibly useful. We'll see Brandish's myriad uses for these powers that we'll see throughout the rest of the series. And we get a little taste of it here. She, like, shrinks an entire island. She also poofs Marin out of existence. It should not take a genius to figure out what actually happened there. But we'll go into more detail on that in a future video. Because nowhere in Brandish's power set have we found out that poofing things out of existence is anywhere in there. But a fairly rational explanation has already made itself apparent that I trust y'all enough to figure out what it is. But yeah, Brandish's powers are super cool. We'll see much more of why I like Brandish moving forward with her storyline. But anyway, as I said before, she poofs Caracol Island to the size of, like, my hand, and, like, stands on it, and, like, taunts Fairy Tail, and then leaves, warns them, you know, don't come to Alakatasia, I don't want to deal with y'all, it's too much trouble, and she just, like, gets the hell out of town. And thankfully, there were some convenient fishing boats around, which is really the episode's one bit of, like, contrivance. Besides maybe Ichigo showing up, but it's not too big a deal, whatever, you know. Fairy Tail doesn't want to kill a bunch of random civilians. Alright, that's always been kind of Fairy Tail's thing. But anyway, as they are, resting on the fishing boat, or as much as the Dragon Slayers can rest on the fishing boat, Mest teleports them underwater to a mysterious underwater temple run by Angel, who is the spy, and Mest got in touch with her after she started working for Jalal back during Tartaros. Um, and yeah, so there's not really a whole lot to talk about there. Angel is kind of rocking that like in between the dark and the light thing. She's helping the heroes take down or get Makarov back, but she's still taunting Lucy with her killing Karen, however many years ago that was. Even if Karen was kind of a dick, but like whatever. Though we do get an Infinity Clock reference, like of all the things. She mentions I haven't seen y'all since the Infinity Clock incident, and I'm like, okay, we're getting that reference for the first time in. I think it was briefly referenced in the first half of Grand Magic Games in like 2013. It's been 5 years since we talked about Zentopia. Which I should rewatch that arc. I remember liking it and nothing else about it. It was certainly better than the fucking Eclipse Celestial Spirit arc. But anyway, that's really all we get of Team Natsu until the very end. But then we get the big reveal. The one that I kind of mentioned a couple episodes ago. Emperor Spriggan is none other than Zeref himself. Which is such a great moment. I think it's a tad more obvious in the anime, given that A, this information has been in the world for 3+ years now, and B, that we know this is the final season, so they need to be like tying up all of these plot lines and bringing in a complete new faction into this war is not really what you should be doing in a final season. So it makes sense that like if the anime only has predicted the Spriggan and Zeref reveal, even without this like mythological portion of what a Spriggan is, Zeref mentions in the end that a Spriggan is a hideous fairy, and given we know Zeref has at least a good bit of connection to Mavis at this point. Anime fans don't know the full extent of that connection, but we'll get to that really soon, probably 2 or 3 episodes from now. We'll get that great backstory. It shouldn't be too much of a stretch to figure out that Spriggan is Zeref. And then we do meet a bunch of the Spriggan 12. We meet Demaria, we meet Invel, we meet Agil, we meet August. How could I forget August? And don't worry if they don't leave too much of an impression just yet, besides some like rote personality traits. They'll have plenty of time to make a name for themselves in the future. Looking at you, August. Anime onlys, you'll understand everything about that later on. Plenty to say about August when we get to his content. But then Yajil brings Makarov into the room with the Spriggan 12 and tells Zeref, hey, this guy wants to talk to you. And Makarov and Zeref, of course, both recognize each other and they're like, oh shit, here it comes. And they start to talk. And Zeref goes on this long speech about, everything, about how he founded Alvarez like 300 years ago in order to be a force against Acnologia, how some forces in the Empire struck out against Ishtar without Zeref's consent, that the reason that the invasion failed 10 years ago was not because of some fear of, it was partially because of the fear of Etherion and the Face, but primarily because Zeref said no, not yet. And this is a good 5 or 6 minute scene that could have just been a huge exposition dump, but it rises above it just by like the inherent tension of the scene. Zeref is just so casual with Makarov, and we all know Zeref would kill him in a heartbeat, and he nearly does at the end. And because we know Zeref is like not as kind as he seems, that tension rises the scene way above what it could have been in a less competent storyteller's hand, I feel. But in the end, Zeref does, of course, come to kill Makarov. Or he would, but as he is killing Makarov, Mest shows up, coming in clutch with his warping powers, and takes Makarov out to Team Natsu, where they have a brief moment of celebration, but as we see in the next time trailer, it will not stay. But that is where we leave this episode off, as Zeref recognizes that Natsu is uh, in Alcatacia and right outside the capital. So yeah, this was a great fucking episode. We had some good comedy in the bath scene, which is something I never say. We had some great reveals with Emperor Spriggan. Slightly less great reveal with Angel. Not because it's like a bad reveal or anything, but just like does not live up to the highs of Emperor Spriggan. And some intense tension. I don't have a better word for that, but yeah. And not to mention a bunch of setup for events yet to come with the Spriggan 12 and with um, Team B's continuing quest to get Loxus back or to find Loxus. And yeah, and you even as I said before, if the Spriggan Zeref reveal is a tad obvious to people who are even to the anime onlys, it's still a great moment. The tension, the as Makarov's like casually chatting with Yajil and he slowly like fades off or like cuts off and like his expectant face is replaced with like shock and horror. Such a great moment. Such a phenomenal scene. It's such a good episode. Next time, the gang is going to encounter a member of the Spriggan 12 who won't be as likely to let them go as Brandish was. So we'll see more of that next week, or tomorrow, actually. But I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the episode and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe or fill out that straw poll down below, please. Or do whatever the fuck you want. I don't really care. And as always, people, keep kicking ass and I'll see you in the future. Bye!